What's up, Utah Studies? This is Mr. Kais coming to you from Monticello High School, a very lonely, lonely place with nobody here except me and the ants that live by my desk. But I guess you guys are probably having a good time, so that's all that matters. It is April the 20-something. Can't really tell you, to be honest with you, but I know it's end of April, and I hope this all finds you very well. We're going to talk about railroads and mines. The railroads brought changes, big-time changes, to Utah. And this is important to know because you're going to be taking a test on this in about, a few minutes here after you're done watching my video. So pay attention to the changes the railroad brought to Utah. First of all, it could allow the movement of materials place to place very quickly. Meat and textiles and goods and all kinds of resources could go back and forth from the East Coast to the West Coast to the north to south of Utah. It brought new businesses because there was need for business to ship these new resources everywhere. It obviously brought lots more people because, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but it really quickened the trip. It sped up the trip from 100 days to like 2 days to get to Utah. So people came. And we'll talk about Mark Twain here in a moment. Mark Twain actually came, who is a famous author. Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, a famous author, came to Utah just because he could on the train. Some things it did to the ag business. Utah, which was a big spot for wheat and fruit. Yes, a lot of fruit is grown, especially in the northern part of Utah. Wheat and fruit from Utah was sent to different places, all the way from California to New York. Just for example, in 1870, in December of 1870, 60,000 pounds of dried peaches were sent to the east. 60,000 pounds alone of dried peaches. Okay, let's talk about how it changed people. Tourism. Okay, people came to Utah to see what it was about. Immigrants came because of the travel time. Let's look at this travel time. This is fascinating. In 1847, when Brigham Young brought his people across to Utah, it took him 100 days to get from Omaha to Salt Lake. 100 days. Wagons, they got a little quicker. They got to 80. Get to the hand carts, which we didn't really talk about, but a lot of you know about the hand carts. It took 90. Stagecoach, that means 4 to 6 horses on a rope running as fast as they could, 14, and then boom. You throw in the train, cuts that from 100 days to 2 days. A lot of people came because of that reason. Here's a map of some of the railroads in 1890. We're going to talk about a couple of these because there's a couple that go. Here's the Transcontinental one. If you're following my mouse right there, there's the Transcontinental Railroad, right? Comes right here through Promontory Point. Okay. And here's one that goes all the way north and south, okay? And then eventually they do have some that come up down here through Helper, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right. One of the things that really impacted Utah with the coming of the railroad was mining. Okay. Mining for what was in the ground, whether it be gold, silver, copper, coal. Talk a lot about coal today, zinc or lead. Okay. It had a huge impact. Railroads brought the ease of transporting heavy metals, and not just the heavy metals that they dig out, but also the tools that they needed to transport that. Before this, they'd use wagons and pulled all the heavy metals by horses and oxen. We know how slow that was. The coal industry benefited because specifically coal was used to power the train. And guess what? The trains were needed to carry the coal. So it's like a two-way street, okay? That was money just passing hands because we needed coal to power the trains, but we also needed the trains to carry the coal. So they were helping each other out, okay? It brought up a lot of mining towns. Okay, look at these towns right here. Okay, Bingham, Stockton, the Park City, Alta. These are all mining towns. Eureka, that's where Tintic is. Some of these that you're very familiar with if you've ever gone to Salt Lake, from Monticello, Price, and Helper. Helper was one of the first big mining communities in Utah. Okay, Helper was the absolute center of the coal industry, and many of you have seen the old coal mine on the north side of Helper. They used to call it, when I was growing up, they called it the cloud making factory. But on the north side of Helper, if you've ever driven through Helper. A lot of immigrants settled this area, Helper, Price, Huntington, Castledale, to mine the coal. A lot of diversity, people from Finland, Greece, Italy, Yugoslavia, and other countries, and a lot of their descendants still live there. Okay, they left quite a mark on the Price area. Okay, Carbon County, right there. Okay, so that's railroad and mining. In a moment, I'm going to tell you about the assignment you're going to be working on this week. We're just going to do a little writing. We haven't done a whole lot of writing. We've done some discussions. We're going to write a page. We're going to write a page journal using these vocabulary words, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But here are the vocab words for this module. Boom. That's what happened when the railroad came. Boom. Great time of prosperity and quick growth. Okay. The immigrants and the people in Utah enjoyed a boom, an economic boom. Cooperative, meaning to bring people together, okay? And in this case, businesses who came together and shared profits and benefits, kind of like coal on train and train on coal, okay? Debt is when you owe people money. You guys have probably heard the word debt. Export is when you move materials out. You're taking them out, okay? You're going to send them elsewhere, like exporting peaches. Importing means to bring them in, okay? You're going to bring them in from another country, okay? To lease means to like borrow or rent. Okay. So I could lease land or lease a mine rights or whatever. Or is a natural resource you pull from the ground. It's a metal that can be extracted. A prospect is someone who goes out looking for those things to search for gold. You've heard like the old prospector. Okay. You go out and search for gold, search for silver, search for coal, things like that. Smelter is a place where metal is separated from rock by heat. I don't know if you've ever seen a video of a smelter. Fascinating, but it's hot in there. And the last one is textile, which is a type of cloth or fabric. Okay, so these are our vocab terms. You'll need to have an idea, at least 5 of them you need to be familiar with, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so the notes for this week. You have access to those right here in the module, railroad and mining. Okay, they're right here. Boom, you have those. You have the textbook pages 174 through 182, and you're going to need that, and I'll show you why. Okay, but first, let's talk about the assignment. Using the vocab words, and I've already put the vocab words on the assignment, but I'll show you that in a moment. What you are going to do is the instructions are simple. Using 5 of the 10, there was 10 vocab words, and you'll have a list of them in the assignment. 5 of 10, so you don't have to use all 10. You can use 5. Write a 1-page journal for one of these 4 individuals. So you're going to pick Dan Jerevich, Sarah Evans, Billy Valdez, or Maria Gonzalez. You're going to pick one of those 4 to write a journal as pretending as if you are them. Okay? A journal discussing one day or 1 month or 1 year. I don't care. Just write a journal pretending you're them. Okay? So for the example, and oh, by the way, you're going to underline the words and highlight the words that vocab words you use. Okay. For example, I picked Dan Jerevich of Helper. He's a coal miner and helper. Sarah Evans, if you pick her, she's an immigrant from England, just arrived in Utah on train. She's obviously looking for a job. Billy Valdez is a peach farmer in Ogden. He just sent 2,000 pounds of dried peaches east on the train. And then Maria Gonzalez is a wife of a rancher, and she's one of the first to send beef to San Francisco, also on a train. Okay, so pick one of those 4. You decide. Okay, so I picked Dan Jerevich. I said, my name is Dan Jerevich. Good idea to introduce yourself. It is August 23rd, 1872. If you're going to use a date, make sure it's a date in the time period we're talking about, somewhere in the early 1870s. And I'm currently employed at a coal mine in Helper, Utah. I have enjoyed the boom, there's one of our vocab words, of mining that has occurred in Utah since the connection of the Transcontinental Railroad. I was in debt and looking to make some money mining coal. That's one of our words. The railroad helps import materials we need to mine the coal, and we export the coal that is mined. Boom. I used 4. I could have gone on, but I don't want the example to be too big. Okay, so that's the assignment. You're going to write a journal. You can talk about a day, month, a year, it doesn't matter. Just pretend like you're that person and use those vocabulary words in context. Okay, you have to think about it. Once you get done taking the test and reading through the textbook pages, you'll have a better understanding of that. I suggest doing the assignment last. Go through and go take the test, and I'll move that on the module so that encourages you to do that. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's talk about the test. So, the test is 10 questions And all of the questions come from the book. And the book is attached to the test. Okay. So, for example, the railroad was important for moving which of the following? And it'll tell you in one of these pages. Okay. Go to the next question. The year the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, Utah beef was sent to blank by train. Pick one of these towns. And it will literally tell you in this book. Okay, textbook. I have to skip the pages. Okay, there's like 8 or 9 pages. Okay, but you got to go find the answer. It's my way of saying, hey, read the book. Okay. All right, that's this course module. That is Railroad and Mining by Mr. Kais. It is going to be sent out to you in just a moment. I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, give me a call. Keep up the good work, and may you always stay one step ahead of the corona. Later.